Hey, everybody, this is Marnie Swedberg. Welcome to you. I'm here today with Dr. Gail Hayes, and I'm excited to introduce her. We're going to be talking about the power of a woman who leads. Now, Dr. Gail is an award-winning author and former law enforcement officer. Her message of hope regarding racism and the law enforcement culture in America is being shared globally. She was just recently interviewed on the BCC News in London, as well as she's shared on U.S. platforms, including Thrive Global, and is being scheduled to provide corporate and nonprofit training programs throughout the U.S. You can learn more about her at womenspeakers.com. She's in North Carolina there, and also at her own website, handleyourbusinessgirl.com. I love it. Welcome to you.
Oh, thank you, Molly. Thank you so much for having me. You bring a big smile to my face.
Oh, well, and you mine. And I'm so excited to be talking to you today about your book, The Power of a Woman Who Leads. And this is not just for managers, but it definitely is ideal for someone who's in a management position or looking to lead some type of a group of or organization. So one of the things I love that you have in this book, and I am such a test taker, Gail. I love taking personality tests and all that. This is my favorite thing. So I had so much fun taking your leadership test here. And there are 6 different kinds of leaders that you really dive into in the book. The activist, strategist, tactical, creative, collaborative, and dramatic leader. And I was kind of, I'm like this with personality tests too. I'm very much in the center clump. I have a little bit outside edge, and then I just kind of in the center with all of it. And so that's how I was with you exactly, which made me laugh. I scored high on the first, on the middle 4. So I'm not too much of an activist or a dramatist. But I'm very strong in strategic, tactical, creative, and collaborative, which is so funny and just not surprising to me at all, because in the back of the book, you talk about the different parts of the body that each of these leaders is. And the parts that I am are more like the heart and the hugs and like that. And that's so, that is so how I lead. That's awesome. We were talking before we came on air that you are the more of a flexible leader. So tell us about that.
Well, I'm a tactical leader. It's a military term. A lot of these are military terms. I'm a military brat. And so I remember I was calling myself a strategic person. And my husband said, stop calling yourself a strategist. I said, but I am. He says, no, you're a tactician. I said, what's the difference? He said, a strategist is at the battle command, at the command center. They're developing the war plans. He said, but they hand the war plans to the tactical leader in the field. He said, they tell the tactical leader to take a city, and there's a bridge that leads to the mountain that overlooks the city. When they get there, there's no bridge, and the tactical leader takes the city anyway.
That's you. That's you. That's right. Yeah, in fact, we're going to share some of your favorite aha moments. And your first one I wanted to talk about is sometimes God will send you where you do not want to go.
For instance, I never planned to be a law enforcement officer. Never in my wildest dreams. I was challenged. I met the chief of police for the department that I ended up working for. I was having at a dinner party with a friend. They wanted to hire him. And the chief of police started talking to him. He was ignoring me. And I said, he told him to come and fill out an application. And because this man was ignoring me, I said, excuse me, I'll be there too. And he turns his back on me during the conversation. Well, at the end of the day, Marnie, I got hired. He didn't. And I became the first Black female police officer in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and the first Black female firefighter.
Wow.
So I didn't want to go there. That was not some place that I wanted to go. My background was fashion and the theater. And I ended up being a law enforcement officer.
But you are an all-around law enforcement officer.
I was that. But, I learned a lot about working with men. I learned a lot about working with men, which helps me do what I do now, helping women in their communication with men and vice versa. I do a lot of work helping the genders to know each other, to understand each other better. And that job really served me well.
You have such a unique background that comes, you bring these insights to male, female, black, white, corporate and non-corporate. You have all of this background that just makes you such an ideal person, right? For such a time as this. Actually, we just need your insights so much. And it's so beautiful that you're sharing them all around the world, which is really, really cool. Your next quote is, if you don't know who you are, you will never know what belongs to you.
When I went on a search for identity when I was a little girl. When I was 5 years old, my father moved us to Asia, to Japan, and I had my first experience. I didn't know I was Black. Okay, I did not know. My mother and father did not talk to me about race. And so when I went to the second grade, my mother brought me a box of Crayola crayons with a sharpener on the back, those. And the first thing I did was find my skin color. So I went to class and I had this little boyfriend. This little boy wanted to be my boyfriend, and he'd sit like this in front of me. So I knew he must have thought I was pretty and smart, because that's what my grandmother told me. And I'll never forget, I found his skin color because he was my boyfriend, to be my boyfriend. So when I asked him to be my boyfriend, Marnie, he changed my life with one finger. And he said, no, he rubbed the back of my hand. And I was like, what's wrong with my hand? He said, you're Black. Well, I was ready for him. I said, I am not Black. I am Sienna. And he was upset. And I said, okay. He got really upset. And I said, well, okay, if I'm Black, what color are you? He said, I'm white. I said, no, you're not. You are salmon pink. And he was the prettiest little blue-eyed, blonde-haired boy I'd ever seen. And what happened was, when we had this exchange at 7 years old, it set my feet on the path for identity. I wanted to know who I am, and why would God create me to look like I look, and people didn't like it. And really what it was is, I ended up loving me and understanding the melanin and understanding what God created. He just allowed me to be in a multicultural environment and stand and be recognized, and also to teach others about differences because of that experience. So I don't get as offended as a lot of people who look like me, because I realize a lot of things people just don't know. But I do, instead of taking offense, I take it as a teaching moment. And say, wait a minute, you can't say that to a Black person. Let me tell you why. And they go, I didn't know. I said, no, you can't do that. Let me tell you why. So, God, I know who I am in all of this. I know who I am, and I stand in that place and space, armed by the power of the Most High.
Yeah. I wish we had more people like you who would do that. It takes a lot of courage to use it as a teaching moment, Gail. How do you actually do that?
I think it's a God-breathed thing, because I'm so secure in who I am and who He created me to be, that it was like that moment when that little boy called me Black. I said, I am not Black. I am Sienna. I know. I get clutch my pearls moment. If you call me something other than what I know He told me I am, then there's something wrong with you, not me. I really feel like, okay, we need to do a head tilt so I can educate. And I said this in a teaching voice, and I'm really good at this. I have people laughing at something that would be totally and completely offensive. And I'll say, wait a minute, before you go any further, come here, let me educate you. And if somebody gets offended, that's their problem, not mine. Because I am here, I'm a bridge between the races, the genders, the generation, and even the political parties. And when you're a bridge, you get walked on, but you can also become a toll bridge and get paid.
Okay, when you're a bridge, you get walked on. Mm-hmm. That is so important to remember.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So I did a series years ago with teen Sunday school, and we did bridge makers. And what we did is we researched the different bridges, the like major bridges, and how they were built, and the incredible technology and architecture and stuff that went into these bridges to make them work across huge, vast spaces. But of course, the entire purpose of the bridge was to get used, to get trampled.
And to connect bodies that normally would not even be connected. So that's what God uses me for, as a bridge. and you get walked on for your bridge. But like I said, you can also become a what? A toll bridge and get paid.
I love that. You were telling me earlier that you like to work with white men. Tell me that. Tell everybody what you told me.
I tell them all the time. I said, okay, I love working with white men. And they're like, I said, because you guys will ask for the money. And I smile and they laugh. I said, so a lot of my collaborations are with white men and I'm on race and bias. I said, now, wait a minute. You can't teach this, but I'm going to teach you. I said, because you need to let us stand out in front. Now you help me. And, you know, and I tell them, I said, you just be back here, be my wall of protection. How about that? And they're like, we got you, Gail. But I'm very open. I am very aware of the power structure. And I said, you guys are in power. And I know that. And you know what? I admire, you know what I said to them? And all men, I say, I heard, who was it? I heard somebody say this. If you're talking to a man, you're talking to one of two people, a king or a fool. Depending upon who you talk to is who will answer to you. So I always talk to the king. And because if the fool keeps talking, the king will eventually knock the fool out of the way and answer. So I treat men with honor because a man's biggest need is for honor. And that has to do with women knowing how to lead. We're not men, so we shouldn't lead like men. We're women. We have emotional, we got something extra. But anyway, that's another story.
I love that. I just love that so much. And one of the things you talked about is that you are big on collaborating with white women. And what is your purpose in that? Okay, so someone might say to you, why don't you just pick Black women? There's so many talented, skilled Black women who could do that job you just gave to a white girl. Why did you do that?
Well, you know, I communicate, I collaborate with whoever, melanated or not. It depends. You know, this is one thing that I discovered. We have to find our tribe, and our tribe is not always among our people. Does that make sense? We have to be with like-minded people, not melanated or non-melanated, but it's people who think like me. And a lot of the people I've discovered who think like me are not necessarily Black or female. So.
Or American or whatever. Yes.
Yeah, I can kind of tell when I come into a place and space who gets me. Sure. And it's not always people who look like me. So I have this unique thing that a lot of people, we all like to congregate with people who look like us, who we think thinks like us. Look for spirit. And I look for that. And when that is like-minded, like spirit, I mean, heart to heart, breast to breast, and I can tell who they are. It doesn't matter to me how they look. It's like, can we do this? Can we take this mountain together? Can we do this together? And so it doesn't matter to me if they're white, Black, but it's just, we have to be alike.
Right. And one last thing I wanted you to talk about is sometimes there are things that a white person can't teach. Sometimes there are perspectives that possibly a Black person can't teach. Why is that?
Well, it's because we all are filled with biases. We've all been taught to feel very comfortable with people who look like us, who we believe think like us, or we just kind of are comfortable. Humans are creatures of habit. I have a friend who's an anthropologist, and she said humans are like herding animals. You know, all the herd follows the same. She said, everybody wants to follow the ones that look like them. He says, and when you get one that breaks out, she says, Gail, you're the one that breaks out from the herd. I'm like, I don't like where you guys are going. And I want to laugh so bad because she's correct. The water's over here. You guys are going over there. And I'm thinking, okay. But if the people are comfortable with people who look like them and who they think thinks like them, and they oftentimes are not open to people who are different. And it's just a matter of safety. People want to feel safe, and they want to be relaxed and comfortable in their own spaces. And if they let somebody in who's different or looks different or who they believe thinks different, then they have to change. And people don't like change.
So it's for the sake of the audience.
Oftentimes, let me give you an example. I have a lot of my close friends are white girls, and we white friends, and they told me, they said, Gail, you've been so patient with us. I had one that called me recently. We were really, really close, and then she decided that I was an angry Black woman. She's a journalist, and I was trying to tell her what was going on right. in the world before social media. Because I'm a former cop. And I said, look, this is what's happening. Gail, you're just an angry Black woman. I said, no, I'm not. So Fast forward, social media, she calls me weeping. And she says, "Can you ever forgive me?" I said, "Forgive you for what?" She said, "You were so patient with me." And she said, "You were so patient with me and loving and kind, and I was such an idiot." And I said, "No, you weren't an idiot. You just couldn't see." And I said, now that you see it being played out, it looks very different. I'm sorry it had to come to this, but something had to happen to change that. And so she came to me and she says, "I think, she said, I have changed in the last decade to no small part because of your contribution to my life and just telling me like it is and helping me to see." Somebody's got to stand in the middle and say, "Okay, I know you don't like it, but somebody's got to change." And I'm one of those people. God's created me to do that.
I love you. I love your heart. I love your ministry. I love your book, Power of a Woman Who Leads. Thank you, Gail, for being here. And thank you for just being willing to be the bridge, to be the one that maybe sometimes gets to charge the toll, but a lot of times just gets trampled on. Thank you, my darling.
Thank you for having me as your guest today, Marnie. I really, really am honored to be here.
Oh, and you guys want to make sure to check out Gail's stuff. Her website is handleyourbusinessgirl.com. I love that name. And you can also find more about her speaking ministry over at womenspeakers.com under North Carolina. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.